Go.
Lines are parallel if and only if their slopes are equal. Lines are perpendicular if and only if their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. I'm going to highlight that, negative reciprocals. That means one of the slopes will be positive, the other slope will be negative, and they'll be reciprocals of each other. So here's two examples. Negative 2/3 and 3/2. Do you see how one of them is negative, one of them is positive, and they are flipped versions of each other? 5 and negative 1/5. 5 is positive, negative 1/5 is negative. The reciprocal of a whole number is to put a 1 over it. So 1/5 is the reciprocal. Two vertical lines or two horizontal lines would be parallel. A vertical line and a horizontal line would be perpendicular. So in example 1, we need to determine whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And they were kind to us. All of these are written in slope-intercept form, so it should be pretty easy to identify the slopes. In example A, the slopes are 3/4 and 3/4. Would you call those parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Parallel. And remember from geometry a long, long time ago, do you remember the symbol for parallel? 2 lines is parallel. Or you could write out the word parallel. Next one, the slopes are negative 1/3 and positive 1/3. What do you think? One of them's positive, one of them's negative, so you might think perpendicular, but in order for them to be perpendicular, they have to be negative reciprocals of each other. Those two are not reciprocals. Let's look at C, 2 and negative 1/2. What do you think about 2 and negative 1/2? They are perpendicular. The symbol for perpendicular is an upside down capital T, or if you want to take the time to write out the whole word perpendicular, you could. Okay, now they're going to make us do a little bit more work. Determine whether the lines described are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So this time we have to find the slope of line 1, find the slope of line 2, and compare them. Find the slope of line 3, the slope of line 4, and compare them. So take a moment, pause the video if you're watching the video, find the slope of line 1, find the slope of line 2. I got negative 3 over negative 4. Remember, a negative divided by a negative, the negatives cancel. So the slope of line 1 is positive 3/4. The slope of line 2 is negative 4/3. Compare them. Those are perpendicular. What do we need to do in example 3 in order to be able to tell what the slopes are? We need to get y by itself. So pause the video, get y by itself on both of these equations, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, for line 3, we get y by itself. We have y equals 2x minus 3. For line 4, get y by itself. We have y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3/2. If you get to here and you see that it's 6 over 4, honestly, we don't care what exactly that y-intercept is. So if you don't finish that, if you just get it to the y equals negative 1/2 x and then stop, that's fine. The slopes are 2 and negative 1/2. Those are opposite reciprocals. So we would say that these two lines are perpendicular. Okay. Determine the slope of the line that is A, parallel to, and B, perpendicular to the given line. So we have a picture, we have to figure out what the slope is, and then say what the parallel slope is and what the perpendicular slope is. When you have a picture, find a point on the line and count rise over run. In this case, we're going to go down 1, 2, over 1. Down 2, right 1. That's a slope of negative 2. So this picture has a slope of negative 2. What would be the perpendicular slope? Sorry, What would be the parallel slope? Let's do parallel first. Parallel is same slope, so -2. And then for B, the perpendicular slope. For perpendicular slope, if the original is negative, the perpendicular slope will be positive. We need to take 2 and take the reciprocal of that. That would be 1/2. What is the slope in number 2? It's a horizontal line. The slope is 0. So a parallel line would also have a slope of 0. It would be another horizontal line. What would be the slope of a perpendicular line? Do you remember? A perpendicular line is vux. Vertical line, undefined slope. So you could write in a vertical line. Is that it? Hey, that's it. Your assignment for this part of 4.4 is a worksheet. 4.4 worksheet.